Okay, I'm here with a review of Hunter x Hunter Volume 35. And whew, once again, there's a lot of information going on in here. This is like Volume 33. The one before this one also had a lot of setup, had a lot of information. This one does as well, but this one does primarily involving the all of the princes, the 14 princes that are battling for succession to be the king of the continent that they are from, or the country that they are from, basically. And there's 14 of them. All of them are on this cover. And that is just a lot. That is a lot of characters. And I gotta be real with you guys. I'm gonna keep it 100% in all these reviews. I'm going to be honest that I'm a little torn on this volume simply because I really enjoyed all of the setup for the Dark Continent itself, the things that are on the Dark Continent, what it's going to be like when the characters get there, whatever Netero's son Beyond is doing, whatever Pariston is doing with Jean. You know, they got their rivalry, but they're working together right now. And then, of course, everything going on with Hisoka and, you know, targeting the Phantom Troop, and the Phantom Troop getting on the boat as well. And, you know, they all want to steal shit, and now Hisoka's going to be coming after them to kill them one by one. And there's so much going on with all of that, and this volume doesn't touch on any of that. This volume stays primarily focused on Korra Pika and the 14 princes and everything that's going on with them. And, like I said, I gotta be real, I don't really find many of the princes that interesting of characters, and I say that with a grain of salt, because Togashi is great at expanding and developing and evolving minor characters or bigger characters, or you never know who's going to become important. You never know who's going to be the major player in an arc or in an episode or in a chapter or something like that. He can grab any character at any time and kind of throw them in the forefront, and so that they are important and they're the one that you're following now. So just because I don't find them too terribly interesting right now at this given moment doesn't mean he won't pull a 180 on me and make them one of the most fascinating characters in the entire series, because he's done that many times. But for me personally, I'm so very excited about everything going on with the Dark Continent and everything going on with Hisoka and the Phantom Troop, that going back and dealing with everything to do with these princes and their succession battle, I really don't care. Like, I feel like they could all just kill each other off and that would be fine, and I'd be more inclined to see that than to see them kind of working their little tactics back and forth, because there are just so many characters to keep track of, because it's not just the 14 princes, you have all of their bodyguards as well, and you have all of the there's multiple queens as well. And you have bodyguards that are working for one prince but are going to go and bodyguard another prince, but actually are, you know, informants for a queen. And there's just so many characters, and there's no way that I'm going to remember all of them and remember all of their names. Even in this review, I jotted some names down so I wouldn't forget them, but I can't remember all of it. It's just, there was way too many princes and things going on with that to remember it all. And the only saving grace, well, I wouldn't say the only. The major saving grace here for me is that Korra Pika is front and center this entire volume, and you know, I missed Korra Pika so much during the Khmer arc and, you know, all the times that he's been gone, that I'm really excited to see Korra Pika in the forefront, being a badass, doing what he does. And also he has his own missions as well to accomplish, but right now he's just being a bodyguard to one of the princes, the youngest one, the actual one that's a baby. So let's talk about, real quick, the Nen beasts, or the spirit beasts, whatever you want to call it. So the princes, all of them, become aware of the idea of Nen because of what happened, because there was an attack previously with a supposed Nen beast, which we find out at the end of this volume may not have actually been a Nen beast to begin with, but because of the attack, the word goes out, and now all of the princes have this awareness of Nen. So they're like, you know, what is this? How can I use this to my benefit? And it's interesting to see how the different princes kind of go about that, where we have our main antagonist. I'm assuming our main antagonist, he's the one that we saw he was killing women before. He's got a very sophisticated attitude, and he was the one that, what's his name? Syringe? How do you pronounce this guy's name? Someone please put a nice pronunciation down below for me, because I have no idea how to say this character's name. Syringe? I'm assuming the T is silent in the beginning, so Syringe. Syringe. Is that right? I don't know. But he's kind of been pushed up to the forefront of being the most important of all the princes, at least as far as an antagonist goes, because he's the one that we saw before doing the horrible things, that he invited women to his place, and that, you know, he wanted to have this sophisticated conversation with them, but they weren't sophisticated enough for him, and so he just straight up murders them. And that's kind of how he views women, or at least that's the idea that I'm getting from him, is that he wants someone to be as superior to his intellect as he is, and when they're not, he just finds them distasteful, and he finds them disgusting, and he would just like rather kill them. You know, they're better off dead if they aren't on my level, essentially. And it seems to be mostly directed at women. So maybe he's trying to find a woman that can rival his intelligence, and then what would he do with that? Would he actually like enjoy that and like want to be with this woman, or would that also set him off that, no, she's not allowed to be more intelligent than me either? Whatever, he's got some kind of complex where he can't let someone be smarter than him, as far as women go. And this kind of reflects in his Nen Beast. And let's talk about the Nen Beast. So, the princes also become aware that the Nen Beast exist. They can't see them, they can't control them, but they know that they're there, they know that they're watching, that they're protecting, and that the whole idea is that the Nen Beast will somehow work in a way where they will kill each other off till only one remains. But I want to talk specifically about Syringe. How the fuck do you say that name? I want to talk specifically about his, because his basically looks like, I'll show you here. So it looks like a woman and a horse combined. I'm not sure the symbolism of the horse exactly, maybe in the sense that he wants to tame it. You know, he wants to tame his women, you know, to be the master, sort of, because she's got sort of like a kinky thing going on, because the horse on its back feet is wearing heels, and basically the Nen Beasts are going to represent who the people are. Like, it's basically their true selves, or like how their personality is, how they think, how they act will be represented in the Nen Beast. So it's the same idea from like Yu Yu Hakusho when he used it in that with the Spirit Beast and everything reflecting Yusuke's true self. It's the same idea here, where it kind of is going to reflect who you are as a person. So for Syringe, who's this kind of like sophisticated woman murderer, his beast looks like a horse with like a woman face and some like woman features. But it also just has this like dead stare, this dead like flat face stare, which I think is the creepiest part, because it kind of just shows, again, maybe just like taming women, or, you know, treating them as animals or something like that, or livestock, something to be killed, to where he just like sees no soul in them. He sees nothing behind them, so it's just this blank face that has basically like just a dead expression on it. Or at least that's sort of what I'm getting out of it. And then its mouth opens up, and Togashi was seriously channeling some Miura in this. I think he was reading some Berserk when he was writing this, because look at this creature right here. That is totally like Berserk influenced right there. I don't care, you can't tell me otherwise. And inside the mouth of this creature, of this Nen Beast, you see like a smaller head, which looks like a frightened girl. And so, again, that kind of maybe goes into his psyche, whereas, you know, he sees these women as these, like, deadpan, you know, just livestock, whatever, but beneath that, underneath, you know, he sees the terror. He knows that there's terror in there, and maybe he gets off on that terror, and, you know, that's why we see that kind of, like, a realistic face underneath there. I'm not really too sure. That's just kind of my beginning theories, because we're just getting into this, into his Nen Beast. And let's talk about some of the others. There's also Benjamin, who is another prince, and his, again, this is like totally straight out of Berserk right there. You know, it even kind of looks like a dick, which would totally be a Kentaro Miura thing. And this character is actually, he is a very masculine character. Like, we saw him fighting, just training. He was battling a lion, right, and like grappling it. So he obviously values strength. He values power, as wanting to become king and whatnot. So I could see that his beast being actually reflected in something that looks like a dick, actually maybe having something to do with his character as well, as much as he values like masculinity and power and whatnot. And then we have another character, Camila. Remember, all the princes, whether they're boys or girls, are called princes, doesn't matter. And hers looks like, where is it? Hers looks like the dress that she's wearing. It's pretty similar with, I don't know if those are supposed to be tits above there, but something superficial. You know, very much vanity and something like that to go along with her. This character, I can't quite remember his name, but he again is a very kind of like smart, sophisticated sort of character, and he has sort of a, I believe that's like a Buddhist symbol of some sort. I'm not really too sure. I'm sure there's a lot of symbolism that I didn't catch the first round, and I definitely need to read this volume again to get a full, better understanding of it. But that's the basic idea of these Nen beasts and the characteristics that they're taking over. And we see a few more, like I said, but I'm not going to go through every single one. Basically, these ones seem to be the top, most important ones, at least so far. So, since Syringe has found out about Nen and knows he has a Nen beast, even though he can't see it or feel it or interact with it, he wants to learn how to use Nen. And his bodyguards even recognize how the potential that he has, in that they don't want to teach him Nen. They know. A couple of the bodyguards of the princess know Nen, kind of scattered about. You know, it's always been a secretive thing. You know, the common world doesn't know about it and whatnot. It's been kept under wraps, but there are those certain individuals who have experienced the world, gone through the training, and have figured out how to use Nen, and a lot of the bodyguards of the princess are people like that. But they don't want to teach him because they see the potential in him to be absolutely devastating and dangerous with his personality and his mindset and how he treats people and what he thinks and the sophisticated nature of him. They definitely really don't want him to learn Nen, but they can't just say, no sir, we're not going to teach you, because they have to be subservient to him. So they decide that, yeah, we're going to teach you, but we're going to teach him really slow. We're going to teach him poorly. We're just going to kind of drag this out as long as possible so we can get to the island before this even happens. However, he picks it up like that. The man truly is a genius, as it's mentioned in here, where he completely understands. He listens to her. He does the training. He's like, boom, I can feel my aura. She's like, what are you talking about? He's like, it's right here. It's in this hand. Now it's in this hand. Now it's on this finger. What's the next lesson? And that was something she wanted to teach him over like 2 weeks, just to be able to like concentrate his aura. And now that he knows that, instantly she's like, oh fuck, you know. And what could be the implications of that? You know, what would be his Nen type? I'm not really sure, and what would he wind up doing with it? And if he learns it before all the other princes do, then you can basically count all of them out, and he will instantly wipe the floor with them if he can figure out and control his Nen before anybody else does. There's also Benjamin, the one that has the dick-like creature. He has also been trying to learn Nen, kind of secretly, kind of down on the down low. So there's a potential for him to kind of get that too. And I'm thinking that those two and the baby that Korra Pika is protecting, those will probably be the final 3. So let's talk about Korra Pika a little bit in this volume. We learn a couple of things about him, and again, more about how his Nen works as well. So we see that, and I forgot about this because I thought we figured out what all the chains on Korra Pika's hand do, because we know that each finger has a chain that does something different with Korra Pika. There's the one that can tell if somebody's lying or not, that kind of goes back and forth. There's the one chain jail that is only meant to use for the Phantom Troop, where he can kind of bind them and take away their Nen. He's got the holy chain that can heal, and he's got the chain that can wrap around somebody's heart. But then I kept forgetting that there's a fifth, you know, a chain that we haven't learned what it is yet, and apparently he was saving that to come up with an idea later on, and has come up with an idea, and it's basically a syringe that can take somebody else's Nen ability temporarily, so that he can use it. So it's similar to Crollo's ability a little bit, except it only has a one-time use. And he can also take that chain and send it to somebody else. So send the syringe into somebody else and kind of inject it, and somebody else can then use that Nen ability as well, so he could use the syringe a second time if he wanted to. However, that person needs to use that ability before he can turn off Emperor Time. And let's talk about Emperor Time. So Emperor Time is like Korra Pika's OP 100%, like, most badass ability, probably one of the most badass ability in the entire HunterXHunter manga. And what is Emperor Time? Well, we get a better understanding of it. Emperor Time is when Korra Pika's, when his eyes can turn scarlet, he can activate it, and it basically gives him a 100% control over every single Nen type, which is unheard of in the HunterXHunter universe, because you can use, you know, aspects of other Nen types, but really you're pretty much primarily stuck where you're at on the spectrum. But when Kurapika uses Emperor Time, he can use all of them to 100% efficiency. However, while it is activated, we find out that he loses 1 hour of his life for every 1 second that it's activated. And that is because here's the thing with HunterXHunter is that, like, you could have devastatingly powerful abilities, but you need to give them conditions to make them more powerful. So every kind of restriction that you put on it can make it that much more impactful. That's why Kurapika's chain that's just for the Phantom Troop, he made that a condition. He's like, I can only use this on the Phantom Troop, and if I don't, I will die. And because of that, when he uses it on the Phantom Troop, it's absolutely unbreakable. Because how many like devastating conditions that he put on it, so when it's actually activated, it is that powerful. And so now with Emperor Time, where he's using all of the Nen types to 100% efficiency, he's going to keep losing hours of his life with every second. And the problem is, Kurapika keeps this ability on way too long because he sends the Nen ability to the one queen, the mother of the baby that he's protecting, so she has to use it before he could turn it off. And a lot happens within that time. Kurapika winds up passing out, simply maybe because of just the strain of keeping Emperor Time on. We're not really too sure, but that's the kind of going idea behind it. And yeah, so what he finds out is he wakes up, let's see. What he finds out is he wakes up and he's had it on for 12 hours. So every second is an hour of his life. So 12 hours, I don't know, somebody do the math on that, but you just lost years of your life by doing that, by keeping it on this long. And finally he's able to do it by, to deactivate it, by my favorite scene in this manga, which is the cockroach scene. So the ability that he took was ability to kind of take over an insect or a bug or an animal of some sort. And so they need to be able to find an animal to do it, to use that, and they can't. They just got to wait because they can't go searching for it because there's all the other bodyguards around. They're going to wonder what they're doing. It has to look natural. They don't want to let other people know what the ability is, so they really just have to keep it to themselves until that happens. Finally, they find a cockroach, and to hide the fact that she had the ability, Kurapika tells the other bodyguard, Bill, to pretend to do it. So he goes like, control the cockroach, just acting, and then she activates it. Nobody can see it because it's Nen, and then the cockroach is then under her control, and she kind of sends it through the vent so that she can spy and see what the other princes are doing. So very, very cool scene, very creative, really liked it. Kurapika's always using his intelligence. He's always trying to stay 2 steps ahead of everybody. He's such a great character. He really is, and I'm glad he is being showcased again a lot more in this arc that we're on right now, because I really did miss him, and seeing him here, actually, I love seeing him in the suit too. I like that, just like suits him so well, I feel like, and seeing him as a bodyguard and like even like whipping a gun out and stuff. I'm like, oh man, my boy Kurapika. You know, he's just being a badass. I love it. The cockroach winds up seeing one of the princes, a girl, what's her name? Momose, getting strangled to death and dies, assumingly. This is HunterXHunter, so who knows? Something could happen. She could be faking her death. We don't know. But they actually see one of the princes being killed by someone unknown, being strangled. And they're like, well, why didn't her Nen Beast protect her? And the idea is, well, if she's been using it, if the Nen Beast has been doing stuff, like, Nen is basically just your energy. Like, Nen is the translation of your life energy, of yourself, your ki, you know, whatever it is. It's basically, you know, it's a very, very complicated version of energy. And so if you use a lot of Nen, if you use your energy, if the Nen Beast is doing a lot of stuff, you're going to get tired because you're losing energy while doing that. And so she passed out early, and then someone was able to come in and do away with her. So that's 1 prince down. So yay, only 13 to remember now. And so at the end of this volume, Kurapika gathers a bunch of bodyguards and stuff that are all curious about Nen and how to use it and how to protect the princes that are going on right now. And Kurapika's like, decides that, alright, I will teach you guys how to use Nen. Okay, so he's going to be the trainer. And he puts down this white line, which I think is really cool. And he's like, nobody step over this white line. And then one of the bodyguards of Syringe has his foot on the line, and Kurapika comes over to him. Basically, it's just like, told you to put your foot behind the line. And the guy's like messing with him and whatnot, and he steps behind, and Korra Pika kind of like insults the fourth prince. And remember, he has a personal vendetta with this fourth prince because he's the one that collects the eyes. So the one guy wants to like charge at Korra Pika for insulting the prince, and Korra Pika draws his gun, and he's like, boy, I will put you down. Do not step over this white line. So while Korra Pika is getting ready to teach everybody, an ability activates. Not a Nen Beast, or at least that's what it says, but an ability which is called something Silent Majority. So this puppet-like creature appears, and the only person that can see it is the one that the creator decides can see it. And then it sends out these snakes, which basically drain the life out of somebody to the point where they just become like a little husk, like a dried up husk of what they were. And we've seen this before. The very first assassination of the bodyguards that were with Korra Pika 2 volumes ago were found dead like this. And Korra Pika, once learning about the Nen Beast thing, assumed that that's what it was. Now we find out that it wasn't a Nen Beast. It was whatever this Silent Majority ability is by somebody in this room. And I don't really have any guesses of who it would be. I mean, we have, like I said, there's so many characters. Like, there's so many bodyguards from different characters. Like, just look at this. Like, we've been introduced to most of these characters, and I just, I'm having a hard time keeping them straight as far as all the bodyguards go. So, it's probably one of them. I don't know. It might be a different character from another room. Who knows? Maybe it's, you know, I don't know. Maybe it's Benjamin. You know, he has been kind of like knowing about Nen before the other princes, so maybe he has been working on an ability of his, and that's his. We don't really know. So, and what's Silent Majority going to do in here? Just try to take people out one by one. It killed one person, so I'm imagining we'll try to figure out who was doing that. It'll be a little bit of a mystery, a little bit of a clue kind of scene, or, you know, trying to figure out who done it. So that could be fun. Besides that, though, I really got to say that I hope it gets back into the Dark Continent saga or arc more so, because I was really interested in all the things that are going on in the Dark Continent, all of the kind of creatures and weirdness and the vast scope of it. And like I said, everything going on with Hisoka, because he's my favorite character. I love my boy Hisoka and the Phantom Troop. I love them as well, so I want to see them go at it. So hopefully we'll get a little bit back more into that, because the Prince succession thing, there's a lot of interesting things happening, and like I said, I love Korra Pika's involvement and everything, but as far as I'm concerned, all these princes could die, and I don't really give a shit. So let me know what you think, guys. Comment down below about Volume 35, everything going on in it. Tell me what you like, what you don't like, and I only have one more full volume to go through. And then I guess I'll have to read a couple chapters online, which I hate doing, but I'll do it. And not for any kind of, like, moral reason. I just, like, hate reading things on a screen. Like, it doesn't feel right. Like, I have to hold a book in my hand and open it up and smell it and, like, go from page to page. Like, I just have a hard time reading stuff on a screen. Like, I really don't like it. I don't like scrolling to read, like, a comic or a manga or something like that. It feels wrong to me. It just feels off. Like, it's not the way I should be enjoying this. But if it's the only way to do it and it's not published yet, I'm going to have to do it that way. So I will keep going until I'm updated. So let me know what you guys think. Like I said, comment below. Give this video a thumbs up if you want. Yeah, subscribe if you want, if you haven't already, because I'm creeping up the ladder to 1,000. I'm almost to 800 subscribers, so if I could just creep up that ladder a little bit more, that would be really cool. Thanks a lot for watching these videos. I do appreciate it. I'll talk to you next time.